So if you've read anything about the Lupercalia, you may have seen that Pope Gelasius outlawed the festival in 495 CE. This is not exactly the case. The Pope didn't have the power, really, in fact, to outlaw anything. He had the power to influence politicians, to influence the emperor and other elected officials, but he couldn't actually outlaw this festival himself. What we have from Gelasius is a very angry letter complaining about the Lupercalia and all of its wildness and nakedness and gore and how it's so uncivilized. What this does say is that the Lupercalia festival was still being celebrated some 500 years after people were like, yeah, this is a really old festival and we don't know where it comes from. I mean, if we are to believe that it did originate in this sort of proto-Roman period, one way or another, then we're looking at a span of over 1,000 years that this festival took place. That's pretty remarkable. So whether or not Gelasius actually really truly wiped out the festival just by denouncing it and forbidding Christians from participating, or if he was just a strong critic of the festival and yet it perpetuated, slowly declining over time from that point, we don't really know. So there is no sort of end to the Lupercalia festival that we can point to. So if you are someone who observes Roman holidays and you're looking for ideas on how to celebrate this festival, I want to give you a couple of suggestions. First of all, I'm going to link a video in the description from the Stitching Witch. They give some good suggestions about substitutions for different aspects of the festival, and the most brilliant thing that they come up with, in my opinion, is that instead of sacrificing an animal, you could donate to a wolf sanctuary. I just think that's such a great idea. I never would have thought of that. So I'll link that video down below, and I'll add some of my own suggestions here. In my mind, the primary function of the Lupercalia is this kind of spiritual cleansing. I think this is more of an internal kind of a thing. So rather than observing it by cleansing your house, for example, you could do some more spiritual cleansing, personal cleansing, that kind of stuff. And honestly, you could just go into nature for a while, take a walk in the woods. Or there is the fertility aspect, so if you're trying to conceive or if you're trying to bring forth some kind of creation into the world, be it a project or what have you, you could focus on that aspect as well. And then lastly, if you really want to celebrate the festival in Roman fashion, find an Indian restaurant or a Jamaican restaurant, get yourself a goat curry. Now, obviously, that's not going to work for everybody, but you can really take this festival and make it your own. I think that's true of all Roman festivals. So if you are celebrating, or if you have celebrated in the past, I'd love to know what you're doing or what you have done. Let me know in the comments. So the Lupercalia festival is this really old, really obscure celebration that even the Romans didn't quite understand. The Romans whose writing we have, they didn't quite understand it. And yet it lasted potentially for over 1,000 years. So clearly there was something to it that drew people in, that kept people doing the rites and setting the festival up. It must have been something very special.